Well, good morning, Curd Nerds. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Cheeseman.
Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. G'day, Curd Nerds.
Well, g'day, Curd Nerds.
Well, g'day, Curd Nerds.
Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Welcome to episode 49 of Ask the Cheeseman, where you can ask all of your home cheese making questions and hopefully get some answers. So we've got some people in the chat already. So g'day to Kenneth, Colton, my lovely wife Kim, the moderator, is there as well, and we've got MJ, Tarwin, Deep South Texas, Kenny, and Danny. And Happy New Year to all of you people for 2018. Just a big thanks for everybody who supported the show in 2017. It helped us get through a rough patch as far as my health has gone. And many of you will know, well, some will know that I've been on leave without pay since October due to a headache condition that I have. The money and support that I've been getting through Patreon and through the ad revenue from YouTube has certainly helped us keep our heads above the water during 2017. So that's fantastic. And if you want to support during the show, don't forget that you can do where is it? There somewhere, little $ super chat during the show, and your question will go straight to the top of the queue. I'll thank you very much for your support. Okay, some news. At the moment, our shop is closed. Kim and I are on a restful holiday here, a staycation at home, which is great. We're having a lot of fun, and we are basically just chilling out. I'm just making cheese and editing videos and stuff like that. And another piece of good news is that I've finally firmed up the outline of my next cheese making book, which I've titled, and thank you to Kim for the title, it's Keep Calm and Make More Cheese. So that's the working title at the moment. There's 52 new recipes, and they are based on the videos that I've produced since 2013. So there'll be written videos and there'll be links in the ebook to the videos to help you out as you go along. So that's good news, and I'm hoping to have that finished, well, within the next 3 months. Don't know about the price. We'll work it out as we go along. And as a special treat today, in 30 minutes' time, I will be publishing on the channel my Pecorino Romano video. And the great thing is that I actually use fresh sheep's milk, or used milk. Big thanks goes out to Graham Strong at Arcadia Saltbush Lamb, and he provided the milk, donated the milk just for me to experiment with, and I came out with 3 lovely cheeses from 13 litres of used milk. It was fantastic. So let's get on with the show, shall we? I think I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Lovely. Oh, thanks, Toby. Appreciate it, mate. From all the way from Sweden. 20 sec. I'm not sure what that is, but that's fantastic anyway. Okay, just go back and say a couple of more hellos. Got, where did I go up to? Cruss, Kevin, Diego, Haha Porter, Valerie. Oh, I'm not sure. Is that Dennis? I think in Russian. Carter, Roy, Eves, Chris, Toby, and Shy Fearon, or Shy for short. Thierry, or Theory. I'm sorry about that. And we got lots. Anyway, so I won't keep going. If anybody's got any questions, let's get into the questions for the show, shall we? Everybody's Happy New Year, my favourite YouTube channel. Sorry for that bit of dead air there. Anyway, I'll take a sip of my cup. One thing that I forgot to mention, which is in my notes, is that I'm going to be investigating a better merch store. The one that I currently use is Cafe Press, and the range of designs and the shipping is really expensive. Especially, I know there's a US address and there's an Australian Australian URL for it. However, I think they all ship from the US, and it's very expensive for all of the Australians that watch the show and anybody else throughout the world, for that matter. So, yeah, it's a bit of a worry. So I'm going to check out some other providers that can provide T-shirts and stuff like that. They're always good fun. I enjoy wearing different ones every show, but yeah, it's all good fun. Okay. We got our first question. Fantastic. This is from Gara Hito. I am wanting to start making cheese. What are your recommendations for a beginner to buy for equipment? Well, I think you'll find most of the equipment you've already got at home. As long as you've got a pot that holds at least 8 litres or 10 litres, then you'll be fine, of milk or water, whatever. Obviously milk. And you'll find you have most of the utensils around. There is a video that I made around equipment that you'll need for cheese making. If Kim's quick enough, she might be able to get to that. If not, go and search on the channel. And you'll find that you've got most of the gear at home. If not, you can buy it from specialty cheese making shops like ours. Broadway Hound says, "Hi Gavin, just wondering how you decide which cheeses to brine and which to add salt to. Thank you." Yeah, basically it's the traditional recipe that I follow. I cobble together most of my cheese recipes from multiple sources, and most of the time that's already figured out for me. I find that harder cheeses tend to be brined because it's a lot. So the ones with the tight curd structure and are quite dense require brining because it gets the salt right in there. If you put salt within the curds, it doesn't always mill properly before pressing. They're the main ones I brine, and as well as wash curd cheeses to get the salt in there. But it depends on how the tradition started out when the original cheesemakers back in the day decided to salt their cheeses. I just follow the traditions mainly and go from there. Famel said we had a lovely cheese for Christmas with pine needles on the outside. Sounds like a fantastic cheese. Martin says, "Hey Gavin, made your Butterkäse, and when I went to brine it, mixed up the brine so an egg would barely float. When I went to take the cheese out, it wouldn't float anymore." Yeah, basically because the salt had been absorbed into the cheese. So the overall saturation percentage has dropped because the salt gets absorbed into the cheese. That's what happens. Where are we? Do I need to make my brine saltier? Is the second part to Martin's question. No, I would add, after you've done every cheese, then you can add more salt to it. So I find that, thank you, Roy, I really appreciate that. That's fantastic. So anyway, back to Martin's question. Yeah, I tend to add back in about 2 tablespoons of salt to the brine after I've pulled a cheese out of it, just to maintain that level. Check with an egg just to see if it still floats okay. And if it does, then I've reached around about 18% saturation. That's what I make my salted brine at. Most cheeses call for that except for traditional feta, which is 10%. And I make a special batch of brine for that. Anyway, so that's, yeah, you top up the salt. Okay, where are we? So many people made so many cheeses or ate so many cheeses over the holiday. That's fantastic. Gavin, no, sorry, Danny said, "Hey, Gavin, I have a Stilton cheese in the cheese cave and noticed that the cheese is developing a heavy blue and white mold. Is this normal?" Yeah, usually it is, Danny. You'll get the blue growth and then you'll get some white growth as well. If it's fuzzy, just pat it down. That's fine. You'll have no issues at all. As long as the white's not overtaking the blue, you shouldn't have too many issues. If you think the white's mold's getting out of control, then just wipe it with a simple brine solution with a bit of vinegar in it, and then you should be fine. And dab those white bits, as long as the blue keeps growing. I've actually got a same on cell in the cheese fridge at the moment, and it did have a lot of blue on the outside, and it was getting really overpowering, starting to break down the cheese structure, which I didn't really want because it's a hard pressed cheese. Video's not out yet, but it's coming soon. So I actually wiped a fair bit of the blue off already, and the rind of the cheese is still intact, which is really good. I'm hoping the blue has gone into the holes that I pierced for the veins to develop, so that'll be good. Okay. Next question. Hi-Fi says, "Is an Arto the only difference between white and yellow cheddars?" Yeah, most of the time, an Arto is added to cheddar to bring the colour up. Same as things like double Gloucester, red Leicester, those sorts of Englishy type cheeses that use the cheddaring process do have an Arto added to them. White cheddar tends to be, and it depends on the cream content of the milk from the cow. You'll see that the more cream content or more fat content in the milk, the yellower the cheese becomes naturally as it ages. But yeah, that is the main difference. Tarwin says, "The availability of Sacco cultures in Australia. I'm particular in trying to track down Sacco's SRC1 and SE2. Do you stock these?" Unfortunately not. We have a very limited supply from our wholesaler. So it is very hard to get any wholesale cultures. They've all got to be imported. There are no, from knowledge anyway, there aren't any manufacturers of starter cultures here in Australia that freeze dry their products and make them available. We have to import everything, unfortunately. So anyway, sorry about that. 8-bit time traveler, you'll see it's a hell of a job. I must have missed a conversation. It's better to buy locally in Quebec. Okay, I'll move on. Thank you. Have I missed something? No. Kevin says, "Hey Gavin, what's your favourite kind of cheese to eat and make?" I think my standard answer is everything. I really do enjoy the cheese making process. So that's why I'll make different cheeses. For instance, when I made cheddar, and I don't know why I held off on making that. The process was not easy, but it was pleasurable. I found that a similar cheese, queso Chihuahua, or Chihuahua, as Australians would say it, very similar process. It just leaves a couple of the cheddaring steps out. But it was interesting to make it, and I haven't tried the queso Chihuahua yet, but I'm very interested to see if it matches cheddar. So it's a unique hobby as far as, things like home brewing or do it or carpentry or whatever, right? It's a hobby that I really enjoy. It's turned into a business for me, which is good fun. But I like to eat all the cheeses that I make. The taste test, I get very excited about that, even though you don't see my bubbly, effervescent self boiling over in a taste test. I really do enjoy making cheese and tasting all of them, even the funky ones. Okay, Shai says, "Ontario has some amazing cheeses, especially cheddars." Indeed. Danny says, "I also noticed there's some runny-ish curd under the rind. How do I fix this? I might have the relative humidity too high. Yeah, it could be because the white mold will start to convert the curds into the runny paste. So, yeah, how to fix that? Take the lid off your ripening box and let a bit of the moisture out. Okay, and thanks again to Roy. I finally got up to the question. Well, it wasn't a question, but thank you for the super chat. Richard says he's going to try again. A soft French cheese called Montior. Have you any experience? Truly magnificent in flavour, in a wooden box, and a lumpy top. No, I haven't, unfortunately. But I don't think they get imported to Australia because they're very delicate cheeses. They're very similar in shape, I suppose, to camembert. I know they've got a white mold, but no, I haven't made one, and I haven't been able to source one. Eves says, I've made parmesan, and my question is, how can I, next to spraying with vinegar, stop the cloth sticking to the cheese? There are a couple of ways. Make sure that your cheesecloth, when you pour the curds in, is moist, or it has been wet. I boil all mine, so mine are still wet from that process. And I do spray the cheesecloth with vinegar now, and it helps to stop the curds from sticking to the cheesecloth. That's the best way to do it. What do we got there? Kim's banning people left, right, and centre. Anyway, Sled Preppin says, cheers, Gavin. I saw a video where someone mixed up a small piece of blue cheese in a gallon of fresh milk and it curdled and aged into a dark blue cheese. Is this a troll video or does it work? I'll start again. Yes, it probably would work if they were using raw milk. And the reason being is raw milk has all of the natural lactic bacteria within it. So it would have curdled because of those lactic bacteria, not the blue that was added into it. The blue would have then been the ripening agent for later on when the blue mold needs to grow. So yes, that certainly would work. You've just got to break down the Penicillium roqueforti, is what the blue mold is called. And you've just got to mix that with a bit of milk and then tip it into the pot you're making the cheese in. So with raw milk, it would have worked, no problems at all. Probably would have been something similar to a Roquefort, which is a raw milk cheese that's made with sheep's milk in France. Constantine says, he's talking to Retro Gaming Geek. Okay. Colton says, I made a cheese and it has mold on the top and I cut it off, but when I ate it, it didn't taste right and I followed every step. I'll need some more info there, Colton, to diagnose that one. Can you make cheese with soy/rice milk? Not really. And Nova, yeah, it is called tofu. You cannot coagulate soya milk or almond milk or rice milk with rennet. It doesn't work because rennet specifically converts the casein within milk, which is a milk protein, and solidifies it. So you don't follow the same process. However, I did get a book for Christmas about vegan cheeses. So we'll be experimenting a little bit this year with some nut cheeses and we'll see how that goes. Nicholas says, how is raw milk for making manchego? Very good. However, traditional manchegos are made from 100% sheep's milk. So you may have to get a source of that. Or you can just call it queso tipo manchego, which means cheese-like manchego, and make it out of cow's milk. I've certainly done it. There's a recipe on YouTube within my channel for manchego that I made with cow's milk. You have to actually add a few components to it, like lipase, extra cultures, mesophilic and thermophilic, to get it to taste similar to what normal manchego does. Danny said, thanks again for your help on troubleshooting the Gruyere cheese. The 5% light cream was a culprit. This is a kind of out of session chat with Danny. I've been helping him troubleshoot some issues that he's been having with curd setting. Vinny Bonboot, that's a great name. Hi, Gavin. I'm a new viewer and love your videos. How do you get into cheese making? Look, I think it was, I know. It was because we wanted to start to grow and make most of our own food way back in 2007. I got into cheese making in 2009, just went to a class at our local community centre and kind of went from there. And I caught the cheese making bug and haven't turned back. I just love making it, love eating it. And that's kind of the story. Yeah, if you get Keep Calm and Make Cheese, the book, the whole story's in there. Okay. Shai says, that's a great tip. That's why I love watching your videos. You give newbies like me lessons or tips that would never have occurred to me. No problems at all, Shai. Roquefort is amazing. Yes, 8-bit time traveler. And Cryty says, Happy New Year, Gavin. What is the most famous traditional Australian cheese? There is no traditional Australian cheese, as far as I know. The most eaten cheese, it's a toss-up between cheddar, which many people eat, and mozzarella. And the reason mozzarella's up there on the list because it's on top of most pizzas people buy. So they're the two main cheeses that many Australians eat. However, the Australian palate has changed a lot since I grew up as a lad. All we knew was cheddar cheese. There was none of this fancy stuff. The Australian palate has improved, and Australians do like many different cheeses. We do have a few cheeses that are made by artisan cheesemakers here in Australia that they're following European recipes. There's no purely Australian cheese traditional name we can put to it, so which is a bit of a problem, but hopefully people will work on that. I've created a few cheese recipes myself. There's Petite Blue and Bloomy Goat Blue, which are two lovely cheeses I've got on my channel that I created. You could probably call them Australian cheeses if you want. So there you go. Anyway, I'll keep going. I'm sorry to slow down in the chat. Toby says, have a go, Gavin. Keep on your good work that educates newborns like me in the cheese sphere. Okay, no problems, Toby. Nicholas says, is there a trick getting lactose crystals in the cheese, or is it just from aging? I think what you're referring to is the, what's it called? Calcium lactate. Had to think about that for a second. Those crystals are usually in longer aged cheeses, and it's part of the ripening process. You'll find it in aged Goudas or Goudas. You'll find it in aged cheddar, really long, 2 years. You'll also find them in Romano and sometimes in Alpine cheeses. It's called calcium lactate. It tastes amazing. It's kind of gives it a crunchy texture to some of your cheeses. I tried a 12-month-old Gouda before Christmas, and it had calcium lactate crystals in it, and they tasted amazing. It just gave that extra little something special to the cheese. Very nice. Enver, hello to you. How are you, mate? Face meat. Cheers, Gavin. Would you consider eating kasumazu? That old chestnut? No, I wouldn't. Well, I'm trying. Good name. I don't really have a question. Just wanted to say that I really enjoy your channel. No problems at all. Where are we? Carol says, hi, Gavin. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Carol. I got my wine fridge last Friday and made my first will of cheddar using your recipe. It's air drying as we speak. Wish me luck. Good luck, Carol, for your cheddar. Caitlin, Happy New Year. Do you have any New Year's resolutions for this year? Yes, I suppose, Caitlin, I do, and that's to get my my new book finished within 3 months, so it can be proofread and and sent out. I'm hoping that by the end of March it'll be finished. If I get it done earlier, fantastic, but it's going to have 52 recipes, and I've only got about half of those written down. The other half I'll have to troll through my own videos and write the recipes down. I should really have a written record. I do most of them. Some of them are on Little Green Cheese blog, but I want to put them all together. So that's my resolution, to have the book completed by the end of March, and we'll go from there. Okay, Mimi says, can I put the cheese Gruyere refined in the refrigerator? Do you mean to ripen in the refrigerator? You could. It's a fairly low temperature. Put it in the crisper down the bottom, which has usually has a higher temperature, and you should be okay. Just make sure it's in a ripening box so it doesn't get infected with other molds that may be living in your fridge. Lactobacillus Prime says, Happy New Year from the Netherlands. G'day, how are you? 8-Bit Time Traveller says, will he post this online on YouTube? Because it sucks, I need to go to work. Yes, the archive will be available straight after the show. YouTube does a bit of video processing, but it's usually up within the hour. So yes, I do post them. Nicholas says, how do vacuum bags allow for aging? I feel like it would need oxygen to age. Good question, and I've often thought about this. And basically the aging process doesn't really require oxygen to happen. Only if you've got molds on your cheeks, like blue mold, white mold, or Brevibacteria linens. They need oxygen to grow. So you obviously don't vacuum pack blue cheeses or white mold cheeses, or anything with Brevibacterium linens, the orange bacteria or the red bacteria that you wash rind cheeses come with. You don't vac pack those until they're fully aged. All other cheeses, what happens is the enzymes that are left over when the lactic bacteria dies, after it reaches a certain point, converts the fats and lipids and proteins within the cheese into lipids and increases the flavor. So it does it at the exclusion of oxygen. It's a rotting mechanism where the enzymes attack the proteins and the fats. So that's why you can use vacuum packing, very similar to waxing cheeses, to age your cheese. So I've got lots of cheeses in my cheese fridge that are vacuum packed at the moment, and they all turn out fantastic. Mark my words. In fact, I'm going to do I've got a free day today, kinda. So after the show, I'm going to film a bit of a tour of the cheese fridge. It's going to be pretty tight. It's in my laundry and there's not much space to move, but we'll see how that turns out, because it is chock-a-block full of cheese that's ripening, and some just aging. I think one or two are ready to eat, but I'm just waiting for the right moment to do the taste test on them. Gail says, love your videos, Gavin. Gail from Worcester, Massachusetts. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And to you too, Gail. Where I'm up to. The air vacuum food saver. Yeah, that's what I use. I use the Sunbeam food saver. Works like a treat. You can get the bags, no problems at all. I do tend to reuse the bag if I have to reseal a cheese. I don't use the plastic. The plastic can be recycled. It is high-density polyethylene, which is food safe, so it doesn't leach into the cheese itself. Arco says, Mr. Weber, a shop near me stocks vegetable rennet tablets and granulated calcium chloride. Can you help with the conversion amounts? Thanks. Arco, yeah, just pop over to the About tab on the channel, shoot me an email, and we'll work out what strengths you've got, and we'll figure that out. Alexandro says, do you recommend to have cheese on different place of salami, maturation, or are their molds compatible? I have seen some cheeses being matured in salami caves or salami cabinets, because the white mold on the outside of salami is Penicillium candidum or Penicillium camberti. They're very similar bacteria, not bacteria, molds. And yeah, if you've got white mold cheese growing, it actually helps the salami go along and vice versa. So they're the only ones you could probably do. Lactobacillus prime says old Gouda or Gouda cheese is definitely is amazing. Yes, it is, and I don't know why our local supermarket had some. They were all half price for some reason. It doesn't expire. But yeah, I thought it was. I bought a piece for something like $12 Australian. It was very expensive, but the flavour was just blew my mind. So next Gouda I make, I'll age it for 12 months. Danny says, there are very small spots of green mould on my cheddar in the vac pack. Would I just cut the spots off and wipe with brine? If it's in your vac packet, they shouldn't grow because the green mould needs oxygen to grow. But what you could do is take it out of the plastic, wipe it with some brine solution to get rid of the spots. You probably don't need to cut them off. They shouldn't go very deep. And then just re-vac pack and you should be fine. Eve says, is it wrong to put lipase into cheeses like Gouda or Edam? It's not wrong to do anything in cheese making. You just won't have a Gouda or Edam. You'll have a different type of cheese. It's always amazing to experiment, and I like doing that. I've started doing a fair bit of that recently. So yeah, I've been doing that recently. So there's no right or wrong way to make cheese. You can make it any way you want. It probably would not pay to call it Gouda or Edam after you've done it. Just say it's my own creation. It's a washed curd cheese, and people will go, they'll be amazed at your cheese making superpower. Nicola says, oh no, we've done that one. Oh no, we haven't. I've got mold on my wax cheddar and the bamboo mat both in my cheese fridge. Do these need to be regularly cleaned? Yes, they do. You should always replace your bamboo mats or boil them to get rid of any molds or yeasts on them. When I start a cheese making session, I sanitize everything, including the bamboo mats, in boiling water, and then you know that they won't grow any molds on them. If they do, you have to just boil some more, and they're dime a dozen bamboo mats. Don't get hung up about it. They're heaps cheap, mate. Danny says, is it okay to store non-vac pack cheese or brining cheese in the same fridge as Stilton? Probably not. You'll get cross-contamination if you're trying to create a natural rind. The spores from the Penicillium roqueforti can be airborne, and they will infect your other cheeses. Samir says, love your cheese making. Thank you very much. MJ say, would you be up for doing more on Twitter? Lots of cheese fans there. Twitter is a unique kind of beast. Look, I don't know if it's just me, but Twitter doesn't seem very popular here in social media's worlds. The most popular popular social media platforms here in Australia tend to be Facebook, Instagram, and with the kiddies, Snapchat, but that's kind of going by the wayside these days. But yeah, those platforms, and YouTube, of course, are the major platforms. And I don't have a lot of followers on Twitter. I do tweet the videos when they come out, so they go to the Twitter feed. But yeah, it's not one of the things I focus on. I think you should focus on one thing and do it well, and that seems to pay off for me. Othman says, "Good evening, sir. Hello from Paris. Hello to you, Othman." Mork Drums. I've been sub for a while. Just want to say thank you, and I appreciate your approach. I enjoy learning why the ingredients are used. Looking forward to making my own homemade cheese someday. Very welcome. Lactobacillus prime. To me, Gouda and Leerdam are super close. Grew up around that area as a child. Helped the neighbour next door, actually dairy farm, with the cheese making process. Yeah, they are very simple. I think it's a slight temperature variation, which is different. Barleycorn says, can you increase the fat content by blending cream or butter into warm milk? You can blend cream, but do not blend butter, because butter is undergone it's gone past. How do I explain this? Butter is a fat, and it's pure fat, and it's been converted from cream into butter by agitation, and it will not incorporate into milk, no matter how hard you try. But you can certainly blend cream, and it's got to be pure cream. It can't be thickened cream. It can't have any other ingredients except cream. That's it. So you can add that. So I've added cream to cheeses such as Stilton, which has a high fat content, which is a blue cheese, and double cream, brie, and triple cream, which are white mold cheeses. So yeah, you can up the fat content. Or you can do that also if you are in a country where standardized milk is fairly low, the percentage is around 3%. You really want it more towards that 4% mark, 3.8, 4% fat content, and you can increase it a little bit adding some cream. Hopefully that answers your question. Sarcastic ham sandwich. Are you willing to do a tutorial on pepper jack cheese? Love your vids. Yes, we can do that. I'll put it in the list. Actually, there is a recipe for pepper jack in my book, Keep Calm and Make Cheese. It's a very slight twist on Monterey Jack, is basically, and it seems to work very well. Othman says, have you tried to make cow's milk cheese with goat's milk? Could it even work? Sorry, I'm a novice. Yes, it actually does, and that's a very good question. You actually use less rennet when using goat's milk for a cow's milk recipe. It's about 15% less because there's more fat content in goat's milk and sheep's milk, by the way. So you use a little bit less rennet, but you can use those recipes, no problems at all. You'll just get a sharper taste. Goat's milk naturally has lipase in it and other fats and enzymes, and it does have a sharper taste, the final cheese. It won't taste the same as the cow's milk version, and that's why people do use different types of milks from different types of animals to make different types of cheeses. Okay, Danny says, how soon can I vacuum seal a Parmesan? Look, I usually wait until about a month, Dan, because you want a rind on it. You want the outside to be drier than the inside. So I wait about a month. I use a ripening box to get the rind just right. And I find that because we're using smaller wheels, they tend to dry out and go solid over that 12 months. So, yeah, usually about 1 month. That's what I do. MJ says, okay, no worries. I can't remember what in reference to that was. Twitter. Yes, sorry. George says, you have inspired myself and my girlfriend to get into cheese making, and we're off on our first cheese making lesson next month. Cheers. Fantastic. Well done, George, and your girlfriend. Shy says, what is the cheese that hang on, I'll have a drink of water. Okay, Shy says, what is the cheese that surprised you the most when you made it? And what is your favourite cheese that you've made? The cheese that surprised me the most was Tilsit. which is a washed rind cheese. So it's got Brevibacterium linens around it, and it actually turned out orange. But it blew my mind. I'd never tasted a washed rind cheese before, but this was the first one I'd ever made, and fantastic, absolutely amazing. Favorite cheese that I've made, I think the aged 1-year-old cheddar was pretty up there. It had an amazing flavour. Tasted a little bit bitter when melted, but when it was fresh and on a cracker, it was great. Another cheese that surprised me many, many moons ago when I first started was Wensleydale. Wensleydale is a fantastic cheese, and that surprised me. So, yeah, that was a favourite as well. But my old favourite, the easiest one to make semi-hard cheese is Caerphilly, and that's a family favourite. Just a nice, salty, quick cheese, semi-hard, takes only 3 weeks to full maturity, and then you can eat it. Has a nice, firm rind, and it's just great. It really is lovely. Anyway, Joseph says, "Hi, Gavin, Happy New Year. This is Joseph from Lebanon. How are you, Joseph? I want to ask you if I can use yogurt instead of thermophilic culture. What's the ratio?" Good question. Yes, you can use yogurt instead of thermophilic culture, but you've got to use the right yogurt with it's difficult to explain. I've done it before when I was making a provolone. I wanted to get the acidity of the curds high very quickly. I used a tangy yogurt culture, so I had to make some yogurt before. To 10 litres of milk, I added 170 grams of the yogurt. So I think it's about 5%. So just look for information on the internet about mother cultures and how to add mother cultures to milk to make cheese. So go and do a little bit of research there. I'm pretty sure it was about 5%, but don't hold me to that. Go and do your own research on mother cultures, and that's exactly what you're talking about there. Barleycorn says, thanks for the answer. No problems at all. Deep South Texas, opened my first Budakäse yesterday. Big thumbs up, thanks. Yeah, it's a bit of an amazing sort of cheese, isn't it? Something that tastes like cheese, and it's so creamy it almost tastes like butter. It's quite amazing. Ponyville players, what type of cheese is best to make for someone who is lactose intolerant? Also, what cheese is best to make in a dessert? Oh, 2 questions. All right. Best cheese to make for someone who is lactose intolerant? It would be the harder cheeses, so things like Parmesan. The longer they age, the less lactose they have in them. So Parmesan, any of the Romano types, long-aged Alpine cheeses. But I actually do have a video on how to make a Caerphilly cheese. It's only aged for 3 months, and it's made with lactose-free milk. And my daughter, who's lactose intolerant, Amy, did a taste test with me, and she really enjoyed the cheese. So if Kim could pop up that video, the lactose-free cheese, just for Ponyville players, and you can check out that recipe. Nice and simple, but yeah, make sure you handle the milk. Check to make sure the milk isn't ultra pasteurized first. A lot of those lactose-free milks are ultra pasteurized. You've got to find one that isn't. Walt says, California checking in. G'day, Walt. King says, can you make a Portuguese cheese? Yep, if you'd let me know the name, and I'll see if I can find a recipe for it. MJ, can you mix milks? Can you use half cow, half goat? You can indeed, MJ. In fact, I've got a real feta video coming out soon. This is the third feta video that I've ever made, where I've mixed 70% ewe's milk and 30% goat's milk. and it is absolutely delightful. An amazing cheese with an amazing texture, flavour, all of that. You couldn't ask for anything more. Tastes like real feta from the motherland in Greece. Not that I'm Greek. But yeah, if you want to add a bit of sharpness to a cow's milk cheese, add in a couple of litres of goat's milk, and that'll certainly work. So you won't have trouble with that. Mary Ann says, Gavin, have you ever heard of any kind of device that might help in the stirring process? I'm disabled and have trouble getting through the long stirring processes. There are a few tools. I've seen a pot stirrer, but the only problem, Mary Ann, is curds have a tendency to sink to the bottom and they then mat together. So unlike soups or any other liquids that you can have an automatic stirring thing, you really have to have some way of moving them off the bottom and stirring all the way through. That's why a lot of the paddles you'll see in commercial cheese making, they're not just flat like that. They've actually got a bit of a scoop, so they push the curds up and they push the curds around and around. So it is difficult on small pots. It's going to have to something that you're going to have to get custom made, unfortunately. So I hope that helps you in the decision-making process. Mork says, what are the general opinions about American cheese in the cheese-making community? Well, we don't get American cheese over here, but the closest we have to it is a cheese by Kraft called processed cheese, and it's quite terrible. But yeah, it's not real cheese, it's processed cheese. Anything that has more than about 4 ingredients is not real cheese. Lactobacillus prime, Gouda actually has quite low lactose content as well, quite tolerable for many of the lactose intolerant. Yes, it is, especially the long-aged ones, the ones over 6 months. Benny says, hi, Gavin, I don't really like cheese unless it's melted. Strange, hey? Look, each to their own, Benny. Dan says, I was thinking about adding some cooked bacon bits to cheese, maybe a cheddar. What are your thoughts on adding a meat product to cheese? I think it'll rot, even if it's cooked. So I would not do it, personally, even if it's those artificial bacon bits. Adding anything like that to the cheese, especially meat, will tend to rot and you'll get off tastes, and I don't think it'll be very nice at all. Okay. Enzo says, hi, Mr. Webber, I'm from Brazil. Love your channel and tips. Currently, I don't have a cheese fridge. What can I use to mature my cheese instead? Depends on your climate, I suppose, Enzo. If you've got somewhere that's cold in the house and doesn't get above 13 degrees Celsius, then you can use it. Just make sure the cheese is either waxed or vacuum packed or something like that. That seems to work. At a pinch, you can use your kitchen refrigerator, but make sure it's the warmest part of the fridge, which is usually the bottom of the fridge, especially if it blows cold air around. Yeah, so you can do that. That's really the only options. A lot of people in North America use their basements because they're very cold and damp. That seems to work as well. But yeah, a bar fridge is something that's pretty easy to pick up. An external thermostat, you can buy them on eBay, or we have a few of them. So you can pick those up as well for your that suits your power grid. Walt says, I used to haul ultra filtered milk in 18-wheeler to cheese plants. Okay. Thanks, Walt. MJ says, I look forward to the feta video. Yes. Marianne, and MJ's got some tips here. Marianne, there is a website called Fixperts, and they take on custom makes for people with disabilities. Highly recommend them. Great tip. Thanks, MJ. Henrik says, I don't really make cheese, just love watching your videos. And I want you to know I lost my virginity whilst your videos were playing in the background. That's fantastic, Henrik. I really not really for this family-friendly channel. I don't know why you wanted to share that, but that's unusual. Mary Ann says, thank you so much, Gavin. You're the best. No problems at all. Greetings from Puerto Rico. Hard to produce cheese in tropics weather. Tends to rot fast without a cheese cave. Yes, it does. Many of my fellow Australians who live in the tropics here have the same issue. In fact, it's very hard for them to make the cheese because the temperatures, the milk have to usually around 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. And a lot of those places, the ambient outside temperature is higher than that. So they can't make cheese. They have to do it in the winter. Mork says, agree, Kraft singles taste like wax. There are some decent American cheeses in delis in the US, but you definitely have to know what to avoid. Yes, definitely. And IP Freely, all jokes aside, I like your channel, and we'll be using it to get on my own this year. That's fantastic. What time is it? 51. We've still got about 5 minutes of questions left. If you have any more. If not, I can wrap it up now. I'll let you talk amongst yourselves. I'll have another drink of water. Okay. I think we'll call it a show. Seeing people run out of questions. Yeah, so hopefully Kim's ready with all the links. So thanks again. The show wouldn't be the show without you. Cheese pairing videos, yes, we're going to do some of those as well. Like I said, the show wouldn't be the show without you and all your questions. I really appreciate everything and all the questions that you provide during the chat. And here's to a fantastic 2018 of cheese making, and yes, I'm lost for words. I've run out of steam, I think. But yeah, don't forget that you can support the show via Patreon. Kim will have the link there somewhere. Pop over to Little Green Cheese for, there's about 60 odd podcast episodes you can also listen to when you're not in the mood for watching videos. So you can check those out as well. Don't forget the merch store that Kim's just put up there as well, which is over at cafepress.com.au. And I'll go and have a cuppa and lie down, I think. And don't forget that you can also, there's still time to do a super chat if you want to support the day-to-day. And thank you very much to those who have super chatted and sent some money and some love, cheesy love, my way. Thanks very much. And don't forget that our shop, littlegreenworkshops.com.au, will be open again on the 9th, I believe, of January. We're not shipping at the moment. The website's still open. Take orders. And we're going to be having a cheese kit sale. More about that in the next chat next week. And Happy New Year to you, Santiago, as well. Okay, best place to get cheese supplies in the USA, either Amazon or there's so many. New England Cheese Making Supply, check that out. They're pretty good as well. Here in Australia, littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Okay, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and we will see you same time and same day next week on Wednesday morning.
Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. G'day, Curd Nerds.
Well, g'day, Curd Nerds.
Well, g'day, Curd Nerds.
Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Well, g'day, Curd Nerds. Oh, I forgot to mention, don't forget to go and check out the Pecorino Romano. It's published now as far as I can tell. So go and check that out. Sorry, I jumped in at the end there. Pecorino Romano is on the channel now. Go and check it out. If you like this one, give it a thumbs up as well. Helps YouTube engagement, push it to the top of the trendings and all that sort of stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.